We are so excited about this new segment. Ron, we had talked about this idea that it'd be wonderful to be able to provide some financial assistance, some financial advice to our listeners, and now we're thrilled to bring this new segment forward.
That's right. Andrew Blazsik, can we call you Drew?
Yeah, you can call me Drew.
Okay, we'll call him Drew. Drew Blazsik is in studio right now, and there's a new feature that you'll be treated to each and every Friday, as long as he doesn't get disgusted after the first one and decide not to come back. Is all about faith in finance.
Yeah.
And Drew, tell us a little bit about yourself. And I know you've been a guest of Pat Odie Murray on The Virtuous Life a couple of times.
Yes. A little bit about myself is I went to school at the University of Toledo, got my master's in econ, got an MBA in finance, and then I got a job at the University of Toledo as a visitor instructor. I taught economics for 3 years. Went to Lourdes University, taught for about 2.5 years as professor of finance. Now currently I'm at Adrian College, teaching finance and economic courses. And have a wife, Jessie. We've been married for about 13 years. And 6 kids. So
nice.
The oldest
Awesome.
is 12, youngest is going to be 1.
Wow. So you're not getting much sleep.
Yeah.
But man, that's a busy life.
Yeah, pretty much.
So tell us, in your life experience, how you bring this into your life and the difference that it makes by following Catholic principles in the financial approach in your financial life with your family.
Yeah, I would say it was a couple of years ago when I was studying our financial, how we create money, how everything of our economic system is. One day I was doing some research on Catholic views about usury, encyclicals, what the popes talked about it. And I realized our economic system is really based on the sin of usury.
Yeah.
Like the entire economic system is. And then one day I went up to Ben Brown and I said, Ben, because he teaches theology, I was like, we need to do a paper. I'll do the economic side, you do the theology side. And then we created a paper, went to the Catholic Social Science Conference. And more I realized the Catholic Church really teaches a lot about economics.
Oh my goodness, yes.
There's a whole Catholic economic approach to things, and it's and when you bring it up, if you bring it up with people at the campfire or at parties, it really gets Catholics. Like people love talking about this stuff, and I just love digging deeper and deeper into it.
Well, and that's why we wanted to create this segment because there is a lot of interest in that, and there's a little thing called Catholic guilt too. That if you accumulate too much wealth, then you must be in error. You must be sinning or something like that. But it's really a lot deeper than just that.
Yes. I think it goes really deep into different things. Like, I mean, we could talk about usury. You could talk about the just wage, just price. How should money be created? And the Catholic Church has spoke a lot about those things. I mean, not like dogmatically, but you have a lot of the thinkers back in the day. And Heinrich Pesch is probably a big one. A lot of people don't know. A lot of his work is not translated into English, and some of his work it's pretty expensive. But there's a lot of great Catholic thinkers that really can give us a good approach on how to approach money.
I can't wait to get into these conversations in the coming weeks. Obviously, we're going to get into just some practical advice regarding finances, as accumulating wealth to take care of yourself later in life and those kinds of things. But talk about what I can't wait to get into, and I think will be somewhat difficult, is there's pushback in our country among Catholics regarding some of the teaching from the Catholic Church on finances, because we've become very accustomed to the free market and, all this. And some of it, not all of it, but some of it is in absolute contradiction to what our church teaches. And we get offended when certain people point that out. I won't mention names, Pope Francis, when he points out things, and then we get very offended by those things. But it is foundational Catholic teaching in this area.
A great case study to do is go to a party with a bunch of Catholics. Yeah. Study usury for about 20 minutes. Bring up the topic. You'll get like 20 different views on usury. People really don't know what it is or how to explain it. But I agree. Like it's a lightning rod kind of topics that can get brought up, and but it's a great way to have conversation. I think it's a great way to think about it. The only thing I would just give advice to people: don't get offended by the teachings.
Nice, yeah.
Even if you live in a world has sin, just open to the truth, and hopefully you can make your financial changes years from now, or maybe right away. But don't be offended, and be offended by the truth on it.
And remember, Jesus said many things about money, but one of the things he said about money is make friends with mammon. We've got to understand how the world works so that we can participate, make a difference, and hopefully increase our sphere of influence to spread the gospel.
I agree. Yes.
So lots of good stuff to talk about as we go forward with this. Look, usury, we should probably start there next week now that we've brought that up. Absolutely. Because that's probably not understood by most Catholics. Maybe give just a quick explanation of that, and we can get into it more deeply in the coming episodes.
Just give the basic definition of usury. It's just interest on a loan. But we would have to break down what is interest and what is fees. Yeah. I would just say what's interesting about it. You have the broad sense of it, how money's created. It's created by debt. So we're kind of living in that system. But we have our personal finances. So a lot of things I try to change instead of going in debt. Some people have to go in debt. You have things that happen. Your car breaks down. But try to save money. Try to save and purchase things. Wait for you to labor first, and then you can earn the good rather than going in debt. And those are the principles I'm just kind of learning the last couple of years. I'm trying to live by now.
Sure.
So it's kind of but it's much more deeper than that, and we have to have a lot more time to probably discuss about it, but it's a very fascinating topic.
Yeah, and again, can't wait to get into it. Again, based on Catholic teaching, but which is based on what we see in the scriptures. The lender becomes slave to the borrower becomes slave to the lender. I mean, and we've seen it in our own country where we were lending money to many countries, and now we are the borrower, and that changes relationships big time.
Yeah, I mean, all through the Old Testament, it says do not take interest on a loan.
Yeah.
And it says it all over the place. The church fathers all said that.
Yeah.
Even the ancient pagans all said that. I mean, this is the teachings of the Muslims. They don't accept it. And it wasn't until probably the last 500 years that it got broadly accepted, and especially the last 100 years. That's when everything is built on, I would say, usury. Actually, more, maybe 30, 40 years.
I'd be interested to find out when the first time was that a church decided to build a new building and took a loan out to get it done. It's a normal thing now, but it doesn't go back that far in our history.
I don't think it does.
I can't. I wouldn't imagine.
And I think back then they took they try to get volunteers, and people try to build. They did their labor rather than going in debt. So it was something that they volunteer their labor first. But there's a whole contrast between what is capital and labor. There's a whole conflict between the two.
Yeah.
That we should, as Catholics, really appreciate labor, and that's the most important thing.
I can't wait to get into this.
There's a lot to cover going forward, and we're so blessed to have you be willing to join us, take time out of your busy schedule, and join us each Friday.
I'm very happy to do so.
Drew Blazsik joining us on Morning Offering each and every Friday right around this time.
Yeah. That's going to be fabulous. I tell you, one, it's an interesting topic, and it's applicable to every single one of us. You know, I mean, everybody needs to understand what the Catholic teaching is on this, and then wherever you are in the spectrum, economically, it applies differently, but it hits us all.
Yes. Yeah.
There you go.
Absolutely. Great. Well, welcome aboard, Drew.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. Oh, man. And
hey, he brings down the average age, and quite frankly, he could be on television, right? I mean, neither one of us.
Guy,
so helps out the room in many different ways.
Where's the webcam when you need it, right?
Good stuff.